So, the images in the opening changed, cutting out a lot of those weird, awkward stock footage scenes. I called this! I was right. I am a genius, you people know it. Acknowledge it! On to the episode. Okay, so in this episode, we started off very interestingly because we didn't see our protagonist at all. We saw who should be our protagonist, and it was all just her and Yugioh. And to just be very positive, I love Yugioh. We got such a great showing of what he is like as a person in not a lot of time. It helped having such a good character as Yuzu to bounce off of. But really the most interesting thing in this episode is just learning about who Yugioh is as a person. And I'm glad we didn't make the same mistakes as we did with Yuya at the beginning. We actually see Yugioh's personality for who he is. We get a good idea what his relationships are. We understand why he is the way he is. And that's just from the way he's talking, from the way his body language is. Because we're spending time on him just being him. We're not explaining anything. We're not really setting anything up. There is setting things up. And that's sort of the cool thing about it. It's done very efficiently and effectively. And that is because we are learning about the world and we're learning about Yugioh and we're learning about all this just through very natural dialogue, talking about the problems, getting everything straightforward, seeing Yuzu as she processes everything. I mean, again, she's in another dimension, so being able to understand how she's taking it all and spending time even show how she is scared and does lose her cool for a little while is very neat and very important. It's establishing these things and giving characters their continual time to develop and show who they are as people that makes characters work. And it's sort of why it's taken so long for Yuya to work, because we didn't establish that strong base from the beginning. But we've done it with Yugioh, and from looks like we'll be on Yugioh for a while, so I can't wait to see what happens between him and seeing him and Yuzu talk. I don't understand why Rin sort of looks very 1980s with the weird bobbed broccoli hair and the way she's dressed, but whatever, it's a stylistic choice. And then the rest of this episode happened. This was not bad. I understand why this episode looks the way it does. The head of sector security with the chess game stuff looks bad-ass. But now I'm confused, because they're in the top sector and Yugioh's from the slums. Fine. But here's my problem. Halfway through 5Ds, we abandoned that plot line. It was just established that now everything was working together. So this really brings up some time issues here. First up, is this after 5Ds? Is this beyond that point? Because if so, it means did Yusei fail and everything's regressed back to the way it was? And you can tell it had, or at least no progression has happened, because we're even back to using 5D's obnoxious sense of real-world political references that really don't mean anything. Did anyone else notice that when he goes, we're the 99%, they're the 1%, they control the wealth? Holy crap, was it an episode of Bill Maher or what? But it worked fine for what it is. Again, just like Yugioh, and it really worked, I guess. But it just asks the question, what has happened to the synchro dimension? Is this all because of the dimension split? Or does it mean we're playing around with time a bit? Which also could be really cool, because then that asks the question, are we before, after, or during 5Ds? Because if we're before, then that means 5Ds doesn't happen and everything changes. This changes the whole nature of every other Yu-Gi-Oh series and what's even going on. If it's after, then did things go regress? Did Yusei fail and things never really got better? We just stopped focusing on it? Or if it's during, can I just forget that second half that was god-awful of 5Ds? Either way, I'm fine. We just need to explain it, and I'm sure they will. But when you open that door, and I think a lot of it was catching anyone who wasn't watching, like kids, or even just teens and adults who weren't really into Yu-Gi-Oh at the time, just catching everyone up to what's going on, and it's important, and you need that. But it just opens so many crazy speculation ideas. I feel like if I don't address it now, I'm going to get a frickin' headache. But it all worked out for the best. Again, the main goal of this episode was to establish a relationship between Yuzu and Yugioh and give some exposition into Yugioh's past. That worked perfectly, and as far as I'm concerned, they could have spent the rest of the episode talking to walking cotton candy, and it would have worked fine. But what did you think? In the comment section below, give me your thoughts on this episode, your opinion of Yugioh, where you think it's going. And as always, click to like and click to subscribe, because next week it's time to rev it up! Fuck, I'm never saying that again.